Hey, welcome back. Uh, this segment, we're going to be replaying a Common Sense. It's a telecast that we do on a monthly basis at the University of Rio Grande Community College. And this program is under the direction of Mike Thompson, who is the Instructional Design and Media Services. This particular program, we have invited in different individuals in the banking community of the Ohio Valley Bank, in which they talk about different kinds of things that we as consumers, we as small businesses, we as individuals, on how to maintain and how to increase our financial stability. In Common Sense, we have Ryan Mapes, who's the business team leader and the director of the Ohio State University Endeavor Center here in Piketon. And we have Brad Baps, who's the regional director of the Small Business Development Program. And they are going to be welcoming in Christopher Preston. They're going to be talking about credit reports and the importance of credit information. So take it away, Brad and Ryan.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new program we have here at the station. It's called Common Sense, and it's sponsored by Ohio Valley Bank. And really glad to be back here on the station. Ryan, a beautiful fall day outside today.
It is. Get out of the office for an afternoon and come down and do a TV show. It's a great day.
Right. Great football weather.
It is, finally.
How about those Buckeyes?
Hey, they look good.
They're trudging right along.
They do.
Heading hopefully toward.
I know, it's scary, I think, how good they could be.
Yes.
Although they're young, I think they could hit a roadblock a game or two, but pretty impressive so far.
Yep. Coach Meyer's got to keep them focused.
He does.
Keep them focused.
Yep.
Big things ahead.
And I think he will.
I think he will too. So anyway, today a new program, kind of the pilot episode of it today. Like I said, Common Sense, sponsored by Ohio Valley Bank. And today our guest is Chris Preston with Ohio Valley Bank. He's vice president there. He is in charge of branch administration and business development there at the bank. So welcome, Chris.
Thanks for having me.
All right, glad to have you. Chris, why don't you start out by telling us a little bit about what you do there at the bank and some of the different responsibilities you have, and maybe a little bit of your history and how you got to where you're at with the bank today.
Okay, well, we'll start with obviously what I do, branch administration and business development. So I have 3 Ohio Valley Bank offices that report to me. Palmer, Ohio, Milton, West Virginia, and Barboursville, West Virginia. So I kind of oversee the day-to-day operations. I do have wonderful managers there, but I oversee the day-to-day operations, both in loan growth and deposit growth. Another part of my job is business development, so being active in the community, obviously reaching out to different organizations to introduce them to Ohio Valley Bank and what we also have to offer.
Great.
My history, obviously, I'm from this area. Grew up in Benton, Ohio. Graduated back in '93 from River Valley High School. Was the first graduating class of that. Very proud of that. But ended up with Ohio Valley Bank in '98 and been there ever since. And been fortunate enough to kind of wiggle my way up the ladder. And the bank's had a lot of confidence in me and has given me an opportunity to help them out.
Great.
Awesome.
Great. Well, Ohio Valley Bank's been a great partner here to the community, and obviously, I think we were talking a little bit earlier, some of the employees who have become a part of the bank and have really grown as a part of not just the bank, but the bank as a family.
Yeah.
And a lot of employees that have been there a long time just because of that.
Yeah, I started with the bank, put my application in back at that time just because the rich history we have and obviously the reputation we have and we've cultivated, and it's never changed since then.
Great.
Good.
Great.
So I think today we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about credit, which is a big question for really everyone. I know Brad and I deal with, when we go out and meet with business clients, usually that subject always comes up.
whether they want to talk about it or
whether
not.
they want to talk about it or not.
Yes.
And also, we do teach some classes on starting your own business and those things. And again, credit seems to be kind of brought to the forefront, and it's a subject that we spend quite a bit of time on, even when we're doing presentations. So
Right.
hopefully we can get some good information out today. I'm sure if folks have questions, they can contact their local lenders or your office specifically. But one question I think probably, I don't know, I get it all the time, and we talk about it, is when you're talking with folks about credit, they always ask, well, why should I review my credit? And from your perspective, as a lender perspective,
Well, obviously the most important reason is for accuracy. I mean, you want to make sure that what is in your credit file is accurate, because of identity theft anymore is pretty prominent, and you have to make sure you're protecting your identity and your obviously ability to get loans down the road. So you want to make sure that you're reviewing it annually to make sure that there's nothing on there that isn't supposed to be on there.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, it's and even sneaky things. I call them sneaky things, and I think I've used this example one other time on the show, but and we were talking about it at lunch as well. One time we went to Sears to buy something. They're like, well, if you open up a Sears card, you get 0% or for 90 days or whatever. So we're like, okay, we'll do that. Open it up. I didn't even activate the card. And like 6 months later, I get a bill in the mail for $800 and some. And normally if I saw something from Sears, it would just be a rip it up, throw it in the trash. Just that one time I happened to check into it, and somebody had charged that card, which I hadn't even activated yet. I don't know how that happened. But had I not saw that come through the mail.
Yeah, that's, I mean, obviously, we're talking about identity theft there. There's so many things that you can do to obviously protect yourself to that. But, and a lot of people think of internet anymore as far as how they get your identity, but there's other ways they can capture, the information you receive in your mail. If you're not properly disposing of that, or if you're not shredding that, then obviously they can capture that by digging through your trash. Everyone tends to have a book of passwords. Obviously, if they get their hands on that, that's a bunch of information they can pull off online and pretend that you're you. So again, another reason why you should obviously check your credit out to make sure that no one is acting as you and open up any kind of loan products.
Right.
And
So,
if they got your password book, you'd have to rename all your pets.
Yes, you would, or your children,
Or your children.
or change birthdays.
Or change
So
birthday.
you mentioned the importance of going in and checking your credit report on a regular basis, and making sure that there's nothing on there that you're not aware of, or maybe something somebody else did that showed up on your report. But will that hurt your credit score if you do that? I mean, if you really go in there, how much can you safely do that without impacting yours?
You're talking about you pulling your credit report?
Yes.
Okay.
And I guess another add-on question to that is, how could you do that?
Well, first of all, it's important to know that there are different ways of obviously getting your credit report pulled. There are what we call hard hits and soft hits, or inquiries. A hard inquiry is going to be something like a financial institution that you've actually applied for credit, and we're going to, as a High Valley Bank, we're going to obviously seek out to try to get your credit file and your credit scored to see if there's something we can help you out with. You obviously want to make sure that you're not getting too many of those per year, because that could drive down your score also. But individually, as far as we talk about pulling up your own credit, that is what we call a soft inquiry. So you can actually pull your credit report, and it doesn't hurt you at all. It doesn't even show that you've done it. So there are different ways. Your question was where you can do it. Different avenues. You can obviously go to the 3 credit bureaus that are out there, which is Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. You can go straight to their website. There may be some fees associated with that. There's free annual creditreport.com you can go to. I personally use Credit Karma. There is no fee associated with that. They send me monthly emails. It lets me have an opportunity to go in and obviously review to make sure all the credit lines that are out there or trades is accurate.
Now, does Credit Karma, they supply your credit score as well? Is that?
They do.
Or they can.
They do, but you have to understand that it may not transition over into your creditor that's obviously trying to pull your information.
Sure.
So it's not the end-all be-all number, but it gives you, more importantly, the body of the credit report is what you're looking at to make sure it's accurate.
Okay. And the Credit Karma, is that a free service?
It is, yes.
Okay.
Yep. And you mentioned the three reporting agencies, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. Do all banks use all three? Do some banks pick which one they want to use?
It really varies on the institution. We use TransUnion to pull our installment loans, such as car loans and things like that. When it comes to the mortgages, we pull what we call tri-merge, which is all three. So if someone was to report, like if Ohio Valley Bank only reported in TransUnion and Equifax, and we were to pull Experian, we don't have the full picture.
Right.
So when it comes to mortgages, we pull what we call tri-merge.
Okay. And each company figures its credit or comes up with credit scores or determines a credit score just a little bit differently, probably.
Yeah, they kind of follow the basic principles, but there is some slight variation between their percentages of what they obviously want to put in to drive their credit score. An example, I did some research with TransUnion, and 35% of their 35% of their particular score is from payment history. So how well do you pay? 30% is the amount that you owe the lender, so how much debt do you really have? 15% is from the length of the credit history. So, and a lot of people have the misconception is I want to get it and pay it off early. Well, sometimes that hurts you more than it does help you. So it's important to keep that longevity too. But you also have to weigh out, do I want to pay more interest on the loan, or is it better for me to obviously build my credit? So
Right.
that's a good
Double-edged
question to ask
sword.
yourself. And then 10% is the types of credit trades, whether it's a credit card, installment loan, mortgage. Obviously, you want to see some kind of mixture, a blend of those, if you will. And then, of course, the last 10% is any kind of new accounts that you have. And what you may find is with TransUnion, that's their methodology. When it comes to Experian, they may say, well, 5% of it is new accounts and 15% is somewhere else. But they all have a similar system in play that kind of complements each other.
So when you do if you do get your score from the different agencies and it's not the same, as a consumer, it's nothing to be panicked about. It's just how they calculate. It's their own formula.
Yeah, you may have, again, a 700 score on TransUnion, a 685 in Experian, and a 650 through the other. So the important thing is what's in the body of it that's going to obviously factor in for those scores.
Sure.
Okay. So, one of the things that, we've heard a lot of, and you always kind of get advice from everybody everywhere about, how to improve your credit, how to make things safer. A lot of times people will push you to open more credit accounts, more credit card accounts, obviously through promotional offers and things like that. But, then they say, well, you've got more available credit. That really should help build your credit if you're paying those off. But then it also really kind of opens up your risk for, credit debt, and if you can have more debt, and sometimes even identity theft. You've got more open portals out there that people can attack.
Yeah.
So what's your recommendation as far as, maybe the number of different credit cards somebody should have?
I buy into the 2 to 4. Again, it depends on who you talk to. Some people will say more, some people say less, but 2 to 4, because that helps maintain your credit. It doesn't put you in a situation that if you have 10, you're only using 2 anyways. For the identity theft purpose you talked about, if it's outside, out of mind, someone could tap into that information, run some debt, and obviously hurt you down the road.
Right.
You talk about, as far as multiple, one thing you have to be concerned about is, again, the amount of exposure you have when it comes to how much debt you can run up. That's obviously can be seen as a risk to the bank or the credit score in particular. So you don't want a magnitude of potential debt you can run up. But you also have to be conscientious of, obviously, your ratio from your balance to what is available to you. So the credit report or credit bureaus, they want to see you at a 30% threshold on your credit line. So what I mean by that is if you had a $5,000 credit card and you owed $2,500 on it, you still have available to draw $2,500 on it, but you're at a 50% threshold. That actually is damaging your credit. What you want to try to maintain your credit is to keep it at 30% ratio. So that's either reducing the debt that you owe or increase the available line. Again, you have to be conscientious of not getting too much debt out there, because that also bring you down. But if you can hold between that 30% or under, of course, the lower percentage you get, it actually will start helping your credit file.
Okay, so when you use those numbers, let's say $2,500 on a $5,000 credit, is that an unpaid balance amount that you're carrying over? Is that what they look at, or just the monthly activity
Yeah,
that
you
you're
can,
charging?
it's basically, well, the credit file is a snapshot of where you're at today. So
Okay.
it changes every month.
So even if you pay it off every month,
Exactly.
if they look at it and they see that you've got $6,000 on your $7,500 card,
You're at risk.
you're at a high risk,
Yeah.
even though you have a history of paying that entire balance on a monthly
Correct.
basis, you're
Correct.
still viewed.
Because if you paid it
that's
off
at.
on a monthly basis, it's never going, it wouldn't show a balance on the credit report.
Well, it
that
depends
correct?
on when you paid it and obviously when it was pulled.
looks like.
So
Okay.
if you just charge $6,000 on a $7,500 balance and I pull your credit today, your score in essence could be lower.
Sure.
But if you paid it off tomorrow and I pulled it tomorrow, it shows 0 and you have 10,000 available or 7,500, then obviously your credit is better. So again, the credit file is a snapshot of where you're at at any given time in that day.
Okay.
Okay.
So if a company does want to increase the amount that you have on your card, it's probably a good idea to let them go ahead and raise that amount so you can keep your ratio.
Just understand that obviously you could pay more interest.
You could.
So it's a double-edged sword.
Right.
What do you want? What's most important to you?
Okay.
Okay. Another thing we talked about at lunch is credit. Not only banks aren't the only folks that will look at your credit. I know insurance companies now are going to credit-based payment structures.
Yep.
Applications for jobs. A lot of times they'll pull your credit. What else? I mean,
Well,
we had-
and not even banks, as far as the ability to get a loan, but the interest rate that you'll
that's what you'll-
receive
yeah, sure.
is also impacted by your credit score as well.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have a perception of credit's not important unless you're trying to borrow money. But like you said, I mean, my insurance premium is partly come from obviously my credit worthiness. So where I have a decent credit score, I actually pay less premiums.
Right.
Employment, obviously, if you was to go to get hired somewhere, they may pull your credit, so they're going to see where you're at and how well you can handle yourselves. Renting anymore, landlords will pull you obviously
Right.
and see if you're worthy enough to rent to, and if you don't have a good credit history or decent, they may not even rent to you. So
Sure. Okay. You mentioned earlier the body of the credit report. Can you explain for those folks that may have never seen one or are pulling it for the first time, if they were to pull it, I know what it looks like because I was an ex-commercial lender. Brad's seen them working with businesses, but for a lot of people out in the communities, they've probably never seen a credit report of their own. So what information is included in their credit report, and what are some things that they should look for accuracy, as we talked about earlier?
well, obviously there's going to be social security numbers, addresses, even employment history is going to be on there. So that's one thing obviously you will look for accuracy. Your trade lines, which is loans, it could be credit card, bank loans, whatever it is. Anyone who's pulled you, inquiries will also show on there too. So when you're looking down through there, you're looking for not only is the company that has reported you, is that accurate, but the balance is on there, the available balance versus what you owe, the payment structure is on there, as far as is it for 15 years, is it for 5 years, your payment amount is on there, and also your delinquencies. So if you had a delinquency over 30 days or 60 days, 9 days, it actually shows on there, and even if you're current delinquent now.
And it'll hold those it'll show during the life of that loan, and
Yeah.
if not, even farther than that.
Yeah,
'Cause
the delinquencies will run up to about 7 years.
Yeah. So if you were 60 days past due on a loan 7 years ago, odds are today, or 6 years ago, odds are we pull the credit report, it's going to show on there.
Now, the good thing about the length of time that we're talking about, every month that goes by, it actually hurts your credit less and less. So
Right.
it can improve and will get better as you continue to pay your bills better. But yes, it'll hold that snapshot of a delinquency for a good while.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, one thing I've often talked with business clients, and we've talked about getting loans and the importance of your credit. One thing that a lot of different people battle with, and whether it's a lot of times it's not even their ability to pay the debt, but the principle of the debt or the thought of why the debt is even there. Unpaid medical bills,
Yeah.
or
Those show
co-pays
as well.
that just sometimes even $20, $30 amounts that we as individuals say, you know what, I don't owe that.
Yeah.
I'm not paying it. I don't care. It may have been a $7,000 or $8,000 bill to start with, and everything was covered, but just a small amount. And I'm standing up for that and I'm not paying it.
I'll
Well,
tell
that
you-
gets turned over to collections.
And, you
So
know,
what
when you're
happens with
working
that?
with insurance too,
What does that do to your
Yeah.
credit?
Okay, there's several questions here, so let's try to field what
It's a
we
scenario.
can first. Okay, well, I'll give you a scenario I had with
Yeah.
a customer years ago, and he had a situation with a creditor that, same situation. He was just upset because the delinquency he was reporting was not his, and they had like 50 delinquencies over 30. And I told him, I said, listen, you have two options here. You can either keep doing what you're doing, and you're obviously your credit file will stay where it is, or you have to bite the bullet and get it paid off and get it released. So down the road, you can obviously bounce back and get
Right.
get your credit file back in line.
So maybe even a $20 dispute, what we just
Right.
talked about
Yeah.
with your insurance premiums being based on that, interest rates that you pay on loans being based on that, can really cost you hundreds of dollars
Yeah.
in the long run just because.
Yeah, because if it's driving your beacon score down or FICO score, the scoring unit, it's obviously going to impact what loan rate you're getting. So that $20 item that you're fighting for may cost you thousands of dollars on a car loan because your
Right.
interest rate's jumping 2, 3, 5%.
So if you have, let's say, just a small credit card debt that's maybe $100 that's unpaid, that's delinquent, versus your mortgage that's unpaid, that's delinquent, do those equally impact your score as it equal hits, or are some hits bigger than others?
Well, obviously a delinquency is a delinquency.
Right.
And more importantly, it's the time frame in which it hit. So if you're
Okay.
currently delinquent, then it's going to impact you heavy.
Right.
The further you get behind whatever delinquency it is, it's going to impact you less. Now, I'm not saying it's going to jump 50 points from
Right.
one month to the next, but the more time you get behind a delinquency, the better off you're going to be.
Okay.
I would like to talk about the collection issue because sometimes bad credit happens at no fault of your own. Like we talk about, maybe the insurance payment didn't get the notification they need to pay it off in time,
Right.
so the collection actually hits you. They will impact you just like anything else. So
utility bills,
Utility
phone
bills,
bills, unpaid.
we talk about inquiries. If you want, if renting is not important to you as far as credit, what about cable? What about
Yeah,
internet?
cable, sure,
Cell
all
phone
of it.
provider. They're
All
all
of
they're
it.
all potentially pulling to see what kind of down payment they're requiring from you.
And we talked, hit on it earlier about the difference between a hard inquiry and a soft inquiry. I always have a hard time saying that word, but hard being when you're going to the bank and actually applying for a loan. Soft being when insurance companies pull it, they get a score. When
Pre-approval credit cards.
pre-approval credit cards, when those things come in the mail, those do not affect your score. Is that
Correct. And again, if you pull your own, it's not
It
going to
doesn't affect
it's not
your
going to
score.
impact you. Yeah.
Yeah. So the utility, something else to maybe we should hit on too is student loans. If those go into deferment, and obviously you need to notify someone that does, that doesn't always happen. Now you've got outstanding loans, student loans on the credit report.
Yeah. Obviously, the credit bureau doesn't know if you're in
Exactly.
school or not.
Yep.
So if you don't make the appropriate contact with the organization, then they're going to report you delinquent. Again, a delinquency is a delinquency. So if you're late, and the credit score will drive down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I guess last but not least,
Got to ask it.
I gotta ask it, this whole credit and credit problems and obviously
What it can lead to.
what it can lead to and where we don't want to be, but sometimes it happens, is bankruptcy.
Yes.
And what, from your experience, do you see, if somebody files for bankruptcy, what does that do to their score? And maybe what's the quickest pathway, or what's their expectancy of getting out of that type of a situation?
Well, a bankruptcy is going to impact your score really poorly if you've got good credit before. If you have delinquencies and you're already kind of down there, it's not going to impact you
It's
as
not gonna
much.
be that bad.
But it's going to be a harder way to climb back.
Right.
So you obviously you have to get past that, and you can get past that. But you have to get past that, and it's not to say that people won't lend to you. It's just you're going to lend to you at a potential higher rate. So you're going to be punished, by getting the loans at a higher rate, and you've basically got to build your way back up, which you can,
Right.
and get yourself in a more lendable situation with better rates.
Sure. And those stay on for
Up to 10 years.
up to 10 years. yeah.
Bankruptcy.
Yeah. Okay. One question some folks may have, and I get asked this a lot, and I'm sure Brad does too, is, okay, we did look at the credit report and we saw that insurance bill out there, the hospital bill or the utility bill from 10 years ago. If someone finds something like that, what's the best actions they can take to get to remedy that situation?
Well, on the credit file, it'll have a case number and potentially a telephone number, which is where you want to start with. So you can always dispute those through the credit bureau. So if it pulls through TransUnion, then obviously you can go to a TransUnion and dispute it on their website. But the quickest way is probably to start with the individual or company who obviously attach that to your credit file.
And to get documentation from that company.
Absolutely.
That you can have on hand in case you go into a bank and say, listen, I took care of this 5 years ago, they didn't take it off.
Yeah, and it's even, we talk about pointer and credit report, even if you found that out and got proof back from the company, they're quick to put it on there, but sometimes they're not quick to take it off there.
Exactly.
So if you have that documentation, you can submit that to the credit bureau too,
Yep.
and help expedite that process.
Yeah, I actually worked with a client that exact scenario. They had 3 or 4 things that happened 10 years ago that were still out there that just were never taken care of, and they didn't think about it.
Yeah.
Now they had documentation from the company, but they didn't take care of it through the credit report.
Which is great to have the documentation,
Yeah,
because they
so
can
we
still
could take it
follow
to the
up.
lender, and
Yep.
sure, everything
Right.
was okay. And they were minor things, but enough to
Tank a little bit.
Yep, just a little bit. So, and I know we've talked a lot on the downside of credit, but on the good side too, good credit scores, or maybe talk about the range in case someone does pull their credit report and they get a number, they can understand what that number means.
So the credit reporting numbers are anywhere from 300 to 850.
Okay.
Obviously 300 is on the low end, 850 is on the high end, although that's pretty hard to obtain. Good credit scores were around 700, in and around there. After that, it's just a product of what mixture you've had in your credit file that actually helped boost it up past that and going north towards 800.
Okay.
Good. Well, I know this October, OVB cares about their customers, and they really want to see them be successful. Are you doing some things? I see maybe you're having a Get Smart About Credit Day, and a few activities around that.
Yeah, of course, the Ohio Valley Bank prides themselves to educate not only our customers but our future borrowers in the community. So we are really engaged in the local schools to make sure that we're getting the next generation prepared to be smart about credit or financial needs, whatever it is. So we this month are obviously sprinkling in some credit information to help obviously get them ready. And we do that also in elementary. We have Ventures in Credit, which has Sensibles, which is basically the superheroes of money, which is kind of cool. And then, of course, we just launched our new special, which is our Visa Platinum card, which is a really smart card. And obviously, you can find information on that on our website or stop in a local branch near you.
Okay.
Okay. Well, this is a subject I know we could talk probably 2 hours, and like I said, when we teach it through our classes, it seems like this is the one subject that everyone has interest in, and you spend the most time on. If anyone's out there today and they do have questions, you're not generally a credit counselor, but how could, if they had questions, could they contact you? Is there someone at the bank or the?
Yeah, obviously I'm always available to answer any questions through Ohio Valley Bank, but any of our lenders are great lenders. They're educated and they know obviously how to advise you going forward. And we do that with every client, whether we approve or deny them, sit down and look at their credit file to make sure that they're on track where they want to be and what we can do to obviously better it.
Great.
Great. All right. Well, and that's obviously, credit's something that we do as well with the Small Business Development Center, and anybody would be, more than welcome to give us a call, and we can work with you on those issues and some of the business development issues as well, and get you ready to head to the bank.
And we'd like to give special thanks to Chris for joining us today. And I, as I mentioned, I was a lender at one time, but it's always good to refresh and hear from another person what you think is right. And I know with credit it gets confusing, but we do appreciate you being here today. And
Thanks for having me.
And maybe we can do it again.
All right. Well, thank you to everybody for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you back here next month, same time.
Hey, that was Ryan Mapes, Brad Babst, and Christopher Preston, who's with the Ohio Valley Bank. Ryan and Brad work at the Ohio State University South Centers. We couldn't be able to create all these different YouTubes without working in tandem with the University of Rio Grande under the direction of the Instructional Design and Media Services, Mike Thompson. And we certainly can't operate without Dwayne Rigsby, who's our technology specialist here at the Ohio State University South Centers. They make us look good. So I want to thank them. We're going to be back in 2 minutes for our third portion of our program, in which we are going to be talking with Dwayne Rigsby, Kingsley Meyer, and Mike Thompson about Bitcoins. So stay tuned and we'll be right back. Hey, welcome back to our program, our live streaming here at the Ohio State University South Centers. In our live streaming every Thursday, we have a variety of different programs and shows in which we highlight different guests, different individuals that discuss topics that are important to our viewing audience. We work in collaboration with the University of Rio Grande Community College, specifically with Mike Thompson, Instructional Design and Media Services, and we have Dwayne Rigsby, who is our technology specialist that helps us to promote the various different educational programs. Today we have a unique program in which several weeks ago we had a telecast talking about Bitcoins. Bitcoins, for those that may or may not know, is a monetary system on the digital world. I'll be quite frank with you, I know very little bit about Bitcoins, and so it was our pleasure to have Kingsley Meyer, Director of the Rio Grande Campus Computing and Networking, Mike Thompson, Instructional Design and Media Services, and Dwayne Rigsby, Technology Specialist, talk about Bitcoins and the importance that they have. So let's take a listen and see what the information that they have about these.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome to Tech Talk. We're going to talk about some really cool and interesting things on this half hour. Everything to from Bitcoin to maybe home security and all kinds of new and different things that are coming out in the tech world. With me is Dwayne Rigsby and Kingsley Meyer. And we're just going to get at it.
Let's start. Let's start. Yeah.
So I guess we want to start at Bitcoin.
Bitcoin.
How did we come up with that?
How did we come up with Bitcoin, or what was the discussion that brought it up? I guess.
Yeah.
That might be the better thing.
You got yourself into it, and we held you to the whole discussion of it.
So there is a little
Backstory?
Not antivirus. Yeah, backstory. I guess is there's viruses out there now that will encrypt your machine and keep it nice and safe as the
Hold it hostage.
Hold it hostage, yeah. It keeps it nice and safe for you, and that's what the little note says. Ransomware, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it says for 1 Bitcoin, it will send you the encryption key to unencrypt it. So therefore, you have to pay someone to get your data back.
And I guess this computer was valuable enough and not backed up anywhere that...
There's been people that they say, yes, we want it back.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, you pay the ransom, or you just say, I'm going to fix your machine.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't know anything about it.
Cut them a check and
yeah.
then cancel it.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Well,
I'm an old-fashioned kind of guy.
Unfortunately, you can't quite do that, but
All
yeah.
right.
So what is a Bitcoin? Bitcoin is a bit like stocks, if you would, but you can't buy into them. You can't buy shares of a Bitcoin. A Bitcoin is a new currency, if you would, that's really accepted across the world in variety of stores or locations or things like that.
Could I go to the bank and exchange dollars for Bitcoin like I would dollars for francs or pounds?
Not every bank accepts Bitcoins. You would have to find the correct bank. You would. I'm going to say it's new, but not new. It's been around since 2009. But there's a lot of different ways that you can get Bitcoins. You can buy Bitcoins from somebody. You can buy Bitcoins from the exchange. You can mine Bitcoins. And when you mine Bitcoins, it's a little different process now. Early on, it was something that you could do from your computer, and now you
I
really
don't have to have slaves to mine these things?
No, you just have to know math. Think of it that way.
Okay.
So it's kind of a math
A
problem.
good GPU.
Yeah. So, but nowadays you can't really do any mining with your PC that you have. You really have to buy into what's called a pool now of a group of miners, if you would, a big server, housing big servers that'll mine these things, and then it pays you a portion of it each time that it recovers coins or does things.
So,
So-
I mean, who came up with this? I mean, it sounds like,
Well, that's a good question.
there's
Yeah,
there's a little bit of math and cyber engineering behind it. But
yeah.
what was the reason? Was that so that people could buy illicit drugs and transfer sex slaves in a black market, and they were paying
Well,
on the sly, or
I-
was it all above
Was it
board?
anonymous?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's not necessarily they didn't intend for it to buy the drugs and things like that, but they intended for it to get rid of the middlemen, or middle people, I should say.
Not the tracking?
Not tracking. There's
It gets tracked.
It gets tracked, but it's tracked. I'm not anonymously, but they
Publicly.
say that everybody, every exchange goes to a big a book, if you want to call it, a big ledger. So every exchange is happening in this public ledger, but your exchange is anonymous, meaning that I can buy something from you and you don't know who I am. Not necessarily,
I don't know
unlike a
names and
credit card,
addresses.
you don't know names and addresses. All I'm doing is giving you what's called a public key, and I hold my private key. So it's sort of like encrypting a file in a way. There's two parts of it, a public key and a private key. So if I encrypt a file and I send it to Kingsley, he can't open it until I give him the public key or the shared key. Everybody calls them different things. And then when he puts that key in, if it matches, the file opens. But if it doesn't,
And that deposits the money into his account.
right, once it says, "Oh, I'm good," then the keys or the Bitcoin
unzips
is
the file,
transferred.
and then it becomes cash. Kind of.
Doesn't sound like the sort of thing I should gift my father-in-law
Probably not.
and install on his iPad Mini.
Probably not. Probably not.
Because he would love to be able to purchase goods and services,
Yeah,
and I could transfer bitcoins,
you can transfer.
so I could place this encrypted amount
Yep.
into his wallet,
Yep. You have
and,
to have
and
a
he
wallet.
and he could accept it, and well, that sounds really good, and I could transfer money internationally
To
to
different
people that are
people.
overseas without paying a transfer amount or a service fee.
A service fee, right. And that what I think is originally the way it wanted to be started is to get rid of all the extra fees and processes that it takes to pay somebody or get paid.
Right, because
you
there's,
would.
like I said in the beginning, converting dollars to francs and pounds and euros, it takes
Exchange rates.
Yeah.
It
Exchange
takes a
rates.
service to do that, and they
Yeah,
skim a little bit of that off too.
right.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to use those 20 Wells Fargo accounts that are on my credit
Yeah,
card.
there you go.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to buy some bitcoins with each one. of them.
Buy some Bitcoins with those. Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
And that's the next thing is it's really hard to buy a Bitcoin. You just can't buy a Bitcoin. It's in some cases you're limited to the amount that you can buy Bitcoins.
And that's not, there's no physical Bitcoin, but that's what they
Right.
like, show as
Yeah.
a Bitcoin.
Somebody actually
Decentralized, peer-to-peer, digital.
digital. Yeah.
I think the words around the outside there are pretty telling. It's not for the faint of heart. And,
Right, it's not.
And studying up for today, because I always try to do a little bit of studying.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's amazing how much is written about it.
There is.
But if you really want to master it from one of these sites, you're going to go out and you're going to buy a $300 or $400 book so that you know all the details.
You want to be able to
And
understand it.
so why hasn't the big banks bought into it so they can make some money on it?
Well, I think, again, the biggest thing is that peer-to-peer. They lose
We don't need the big banks.
You don't need them. The big banks now, I'm going to say that people are now looking at it as in they're buying up the Bitcoins and then you have to buy them from them.
That's what one of my questions was.
So instead of being a middle person, they're now the primary, if you would, in a lot of ways.
If we had
can
a
I use Bitcoin
financial-
on a phone?
You can. You can buy and sell through your wallet, okay? Just like now they have the Apple iPay and all these,
Yep.
and all of those. There's a wallet that goes on your phone, and you can exchange and buy just right here.
So
the same way.
what's today's rate of a Bitcoin? I imagine it goes up and down like a stock ticker.
It does. It goes up and down. And as of this morning, when I looked at it, one Bitcoin was $595.49.
Came down this afternoon, by the
Yeah.
way.
Did it come down? Well, yeah. And it does. It fluctuates up and down. The one time I was looking into
But
getting a Bitcoin.
that's an awful lot of tacos.
It is for one. But the weird thing about it is that you can buy pieces of a Bitcoin.
Okay.
You don't have to buy one Bitcoin. You can buy, I believe, down to 1/10 of a Bitcoin.
That's still a lot of tacos.
Yeah, that's still a lot of tacos, I'll agree, yes. But you can buy 1/10 of a Bitcoin.
Okay.
So you can buy pieces. And then the weird thing is what I find is you can have it also stolen from you as well. So in this hacked in a way, in this transaction, the way it transfers is like pieces of a Bitcoin at a time. Say I'm transferring one Bitcoin to you in services of fixing a computer or something. And I said, okay, I put it in your wallet, electronic wallet, because you give me that shared key. Okay, it opened up and it starts sending. Well, it sends, think of it like an FTP server. Go back to that, how it sends bits up at a time.
File transfer.
I was thinking more like a one-armed bandit where it pays out. Ding, ding, ding,
Ding,
ding,
ding,
ding.
yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah, in a way, yeah. So it does that, little pieces at a time. Well, once it's done, or not done, as long as I have a piece of it, I can stop it. And I can bring it all back to me.
Sounds bring it all
Sounds
back.
like a flaw.
I can bring it all back to me.
Sounds like a flaw.
It does sound like a flaw. So that way so you want to be there and say, okay, I now have it all. I'm good. And then you can basically
Lock it up?
Lock it back up. It's yours now. So.
Yeah, my question was, everybody kind of worries about this financial collapse.
Mm-hmm.
Is that immune? That maybe not something you could answer, but
It's a good question. Is it immune? It's a different set of currency completely.
that's what I mean.
Just like when we crashed few years ago,
08.
it never did. It stayed there.
So when the EMP hits,
They're gone.
Then you're messed up.
Yeah, you're kind of.
because I would
You better
I'd rather have something in a
better have
mattress or.
Yeah.
Gold or some
You'd rather have
ammo
some coins right in your hand. Yeah.
And this is Tech Talk, so electromagnetic pulse (EMP) is
EMP.
a rather high energy wave that might come from everything from a solar storm or from some sort of
Nuclear
manned
blast.
device. But
We don't want that.
we're not going to
Wow.
talk about that
Yeah,
today.
that's
But
bad.
to me, it's fascinating because I know, some people say, well, I'm not paying my bills, or I'm writing a check and the check represents money. And then it went to PayPal, so there's somebody that's transferring some money into a different kind of virtual account
Virtual account.
that you can use for electronic shopping. Now we have an internationally, digitally traded, peer-to-peer, ether-based type of currency.
Yep.
And it's based upon mathematical algorithms that determine what traffic is going through the exchanges and what its value is.
Yeah.
Try explaining that to my father-in-law.
Can I buy farm implements for my Farmville with Bitcoin?
Linden
Now
coins.
there's a
Linden
lot
coins,
of like nothings for buying nothing.
Yeah, nothing for nothing, yeah. But there is some stores out there now. I just looked up and Overstock, Dell, some of these other vendors are now accepting Bitcoins. And there is actually a gas station in a town somewhat nearby that accepts Bitcoins.
In tenth of a coin increments.
In tenth of a coin
Which would be
increments,
like
yeah.
$80 about this point.
Yeah,
As
yeah.
long as you're not in Nashville, who doesn't have any gas.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, with the little leak. Small leak, I would say.
How convenient when they're trying to put a pipeline across some Indian territory.
Yeah.
You know, for the faint
Don't
of
worry about it. Oops.
for the faint of heart, these things that are just like a little bit too much for the mind.
Yeah.
I think there is some concern and worry because
There
because
is.
if you're not able to understand it from an abstract sense, then being able to master it and have it work for you is asking for an awful lot of, you know.
Yeah, it is. But it sure would eliminate a lot of the extra fees that we wouldn't have to pay just for these simple
Right.
transactions.
Would
You know, it's just like, if I bought something from you and I used a credit card and you used the little square or paper or those things,
Okay.
We would not have those extra fees other than, me writing a check to you.
Like
That
when I
would be,
sell something on eBay, eBay's going to get a percentage.
Right. eBay gets a percentage, PayPal,
And then
all
PayPal
these.
got another big
Everybody gets,
percent.
yeah.
But I'm not going to get my 401k contributions
Probably not.
into Bitcoin. And my pension isn't going to pay into Bitcoin. And Social Security is not going to go into Bitcoin because I feel that that's more comfortable and more secure. And really, it's not federally insured,
Right.
internationally insured.
Right.
So what's to stop the exchanges from collapsing and the whole thing tumbling down? Is it really money? There's no gold exchange. There's no silver exchange.
Right.
It's a cyber exchange.
It's a cyber exchange.
It doesn't
And
really exist.
It could
doesn't-
crash
you're
as
right.
much
I
as the
don't-
regular economy.
I don't think it exists.
What I think in some cases I agree.
Because the person that
That it
came up
doesn't.
with it said, this is a real cool idea.
Yeah.
I'll be the first investor. I'll dream this up. I'll cash myself out for a couple billion, and then I'll sit back and laugh all the way to the cyberbank.
It sure makes sense to what you're describing. It's almost like the person that buried the gold or something out west, and it's a hunt for it. Who knows? Does it exist? Who knows? Maybe.
It's a wild, wild,
It's-
wild world. I
yeah.
saw that one. They bury some money.
Yeah, it is. But there's enough people out there that is investing in this stuff and keep
Yeah.
going. I don't think it'll drop completely. I think I think it'll be there,
Always have
and
an
it'll
audience.
just hang around, and for the next 20 years or so, and maybe all of a sudden, boom.
Is there another
know.
one coming along the line?
I don't know. Good question.
Okay. I think there's something called
Yeah.
Ether something or other.
Yeah. But I don't think it's not out there.
Who knows? Who
To
knows?
any degree of.
They're
any-
probably still figuring out.
Yeah.
Hey, let's
Move on to the next one.
move on to something real cool or real scary.
Yeah.
Both. I'll agree
Okay.
with both.
Yeah, something about the Internet of Things, which is how everything is connected to everything else.
You know,
Yeah.
they ran out of internet numbers. The numbers that they used to assign to devices that connected to the network of networks. And they had to come up with a new way of numbering things. So they went to a larger scale, which is IPv6. More numbers than grains of sand in the world. So every cell in your body could have one, really. But does that mean that everything should be connected? that we should have radio waves on everything and everything is programmable and stuff? Because before the show, we were talking about, talking to your dog,
Right here.
his name?
Buddha.
Buddha. And, Buddha's, asleep on the couch and,
Yep.
Hasn't gotten a thing done all day.
No, he likes to sleep.
But they have some people that are very concerned about the security of the Internet of Things. And, I think we all kind of take our roles. You're the first one to jump forward and start buying stuff and trying it out. And I kind of like to throw a little bit of fear and loathing and cold water on it. That's what we do.
And some of these things, will order things for you and track things and.
I kind of like that.
Right.
But
I was just had a thought. I could die in my house and be there for a month or two, and I'd still be paying my bills automatically, and
Sure, you could.
things would be showing up my doorstep that I didn't even,
Yeah, and
everything would be all automatic.
But
But then, how does your executor
that
know how
monitor,
to cancel all these automatic things?
you can program the monitor that you have, your heartbeat monitor and,
Oh, okay.
and your pacemaker,
Right,
to
when it's
actually
done,
cancel
it-
payments automatically.
Yeah, your Fitbit. If it quits moving for more than a day, then
yeah.
Yeah.
it calls the EMS.
So there is a
Call
group
this
of,
number.
of people in the
Yeah.
trade industry that are looking at the security side of it, and I'm glad, because the electronic Mr. Gadgets are the ones that are trying to see if it all works.
Yeah.
But they have a group called the Internet of Things Village, and they were at DEF CON in Las Vegas this summer. And they found that this year, that among the 21 different manufacturers that have flaws in their software, that there's 23 devices, there's 47 different things that they found that can go wrong. Now, if you think about that, I hope that the research and development guys working at the major companies have done a good job.
You'd hope so.
And so
Yeah.
that says, if you run a lock company,
Yeah.
and I don't know all the different names, but Slage comes to mind, and padlocks. There's a
Padlocks,
company
yeah.
called Master Padlock
Masters,
that
yeah.
has
Master Lock.
a lock. I think we would probably trust those.
Well,
And-
those are the names that we've known and grown up for years.
I guess
Okay.
that's,
So that's-
that's a
yeah.
Bluetooth.
That's
that one's a Bluetooth as well, so that
And you unlock this with your phone instead of putting in a combination.
or a key.
I'm gonna go to my locker in school, and I'm gonna walk by, and as I come towards my locker, my lock's gonna open up for me,
Unlock automatically.
and then all the big kids are gonna push me in my locker and lock me in.
Right.
But as long as you still got your phone on,
Phone,
you, then
yeah.
it doesn't lock.
Right.
As long as they don't switch locks.
Yeah, we'll change locks or yeah.
But I think it is kind of neat.
It is,
to
yeah,
me
I
that's
agree.
very appealing. If I knew that somebody was coming to check on the house, take care of the dog,
Yep.
I would want the door to unlock for them.
Yep.
I would want the camera to watch what they're doing, and then I would like to have them leave, and then have the house locked up behind them.
Yep.
I just don't want somebody to unlock the house and walk out with the flat panel and turn off the camera
Right.
and stuff like that. And, I guess I'm not ready for things yet. I love this little item. We talked about having keys lost and being able to find your phone when you've lost it. These little tags can be affixed to things. Put it on your dog, put it on things that you lose, your key ring.
And
But-
what picks up the signal? Or what's the signal set?
Well, they're programmed, and I would imagine, like a GPS, they do go to a higher level to get tracked.
Like Find My Phone. It
Like-
can tell
Yeah.
me.
Like a Find My Phone.
Wonder how big those are physically.
Oh,
Do you think they're just little guys,
they're
or
bigger
are they,
than like $1? I
you
mean,
think, a coin?
Coin. Right.
Let's go to number 10. There's another picture of some things. These are called peanuts.
Peanuts.
We'll get to peanuts in a second. And there's another
And this
view.
is the
There's
same
another
as-
view of peanuts.
That's the same as this one.
Yep, those are things that you can program yourself.
Uh-huh.
But the ones that you can tag onto devices, That is about the size of a key ring fob.
Right.
Yeah, I was going to
So-
say those look really like
So,
fobs.
so
like
the
you
little
don't like a lot.
opening on that is probably where you would put a
Probably
battery,
battery.
in, like
Yeah.
like we're familiar with.
Right.
Yeah.
So that gives you a little bit of size perspective. Yes, you will register it. You will have an app. The app knows how to find it. And you know, these are sold by StalkMyGirlfriend.com, because that's the creepy part of it.
Really?
You know,
That's strange,
it's okay
yeah.
if you want to find your keys.
Yeah.
But what if somebody slips one of those?
Into somebody else's
Like
purse
that.
or car or
Yeah,
whatever. Yeah. Yeah. If you were wanting to track people, that'd be an easy way to do it.
Yeah. Did you hear the story about the guy that said he was going to go on a fishing trip because his boss wanted him to go? And he said to his wife, I want you to pack my blue silk pajamas. And she goes, okay. And, you know, he comes back in a week and he goes, God, it was a wonderful time, but you forgot to pack my blue, you know, silk pajamas. And she says, I put them in your fishing kit.
Oh, in the fishing
Yeah,
kit.
in the fishing kit.
Yeah, that he
So,
never opened.
you know, you could put these in somebody's car and know where
Yeah.
there are. You could do a lot of things, and it is kind of creepy to me. But
Yeah, I
I
agree.
think the nice one is the ones that are coming out from companies like Amazon. And
The ordering
Did you
ones.
say you had some already?
I don't. I actually want to try one. I really do want to try one.
So what's this do on the washer?
I just used the last scoop of my Tide, and I need to order some more.
So you just
And
press
so
that
you
button.
push the button, and it's
So
programmed.
it's not hooked to the washer and does anything
Nope.
with the washer.
This one's not, no.
It's just like those little peanuts and the key fobs.
Right.
But you know, there's also a lot of other different brands that here's a chance for Glad and Tidies and Bounty and
I could really see this for mothers, for baby diapers and things like that.
I have some elderly in-laws and they need things delivered to the house.
Yeah.
And so you can have this scheduled through Amazon Subscribe, and it's actually cheaper than starting up the car and driving. And in bad weather, you know, I would love to give them a year's worth of some of the standard things that they need.
Yeah. Absolutely. Wintertime, that'd be awesome for,
You know,
for certain
the
places.
wine closet is getting low. You
Yep.
can hit the button and you can have things, you know, delivered like that.
yeah.
Right. I think it's a good time to talk about this because we've only got about 3 minutes or so. This is controls your home AC
It
system.
monitors your energy. The
Energy.
the little
Is that-
clip-on
that's not your
thing to
thermostat?
the well, yeah, it's a thermostat.
Okay.
But the lower left is a clip that clips onto the energy. You know, the big 220 line coming in. Here's one from a company called Sense, and it's monitoring both legs of your 220.
That's
This
what the
is
white
cool
things are, yeah.
because it learns all of the electrical devices in your home from their noise signature.
Wow.
So it says, this is what you know, Tommy's bedroom light looks like, or this is what the
the
electric
Xbox,
curling
or-
iron.
yeah.
And so you not only know from a safety standpoint things that may have been left plugged in, but you can monitor all of your devices and see which ones are the big energy users.
So if I wanted to save a lot of money on my electric, then this one is going to be the one.
It might be just the one.
Yeah.
And then there are the sensors too. So you could have these, like the temperature one on the far left, and then you could have them in all sorts of rooms. You could put one in your freezer, know what temperature your freezer is, see what rooms are hot, which rooms are cold. I think there's a lot of promise in this, and I'm not going to throw a lot of bad news
Yeah.
about this. Let's hope that this becomes one of the vendors that emerges.
Yeah.
Because, I don't know, there are so many things that are good and bad. Hewlett-Packard this week sent out the notice that the firmware upgrades to their printers will now prevent third-party toners and other ink cartridges to be used in there.
So you got to buy their
You
stuff
have to
or
buy
their.
HP toners only.
Yeah. Now, I'm sure the other printer manufacturers have followed suit or
Oh, they
led the
will,
way.
yeah.
But, it's going to limit the market for
Oh, yeah.
the companies that can
For
produce
third
these
parties,
things.
yeah.
But on one hand, there's cool stuff happening, and on the other hand, they're going to send out information that's going to limit your choices and your functionality.
Yep.
It's a it's another month where cool things have happened, and I hope you'll keep sending in your requests for topics, because what do you think we should talk about next month? It's not quite Christmas.
It's not quite Christmas, but I really like this idea of these security devices and ordering devices. I'm sure there's more on that that we can discuss that would be an excellent Christmas gift in a way. So, I think you're talking
I'm counting
about,
on that.
Yes,
I'm counting on that.
so I think that might be a good follow-up
Okay.
to that. I really do. I think that would be a good follow-up for those.
Okay.
So
Well,
Guess that's all we have for
Yeah.
this week. I hope it's gone by very quickly for me.
really quick, too
Bitcoin
quick.
and security and all kinds of stuff. So I hope it has been a enjoyable and informative show for you, and we'll see you next month on Tech Talk.
Hey, that was Tech Talk. That's with Kingsley Meyer, who's the director of the University of Rio Grande Campus and Computing Network. We also had Mike Thompson, Instructional Design and Media Services, and we had Dwayne Rigsby, who's a technology specialist at the Ohio State University Cell Centers. We have a great collaboration going between the University of Rio Grande and Ohio State University Cell Centers. In the coming weeks, we are going to be replaying some of our programs, as well as inviting in guests to talk. Next month, or next week, is our Ohio State University Extension programs, in which Lonnie King, who is Dr. Lonnie King, who is with the Extension program, going to be talking with Tom Worley, the director here at the Cell Centers. We also have Emily Wickham, who works in the Extension program in Columbus, inviting in different individuals in their educational programs. We also have some exciting videos that we're going to be showing, such as Dan Remley, who is our food nutritionist, as well as some other guests, etc. So we want to appreciate you coming to our live streaming program. We are different groups of educators that are getting the word out about how great our programs at the University of Rio Grande and Ohio State University South Centers work in collaboration. Thank you, and look forward to talking with you next Thursday.